Hello all, and welcome to a nice Saturday afternoon review. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Um, I'm going to go and dub this one the solo work review. I was alone at work today, with all the joys that brings. Yeah. Anyways, what are we reviewing today? We're reviewing a kind of interesting beer from a brewer that makes a lot of very interesting beers. And that is, of course, Dogfish Head. This one is called Crimson Crew. Now, they don't put much verbiage on their bottles. There is quite a bit of verbiage on the box, which I'm not going to grab, but I'm going to just try to remember it off the top of my head. So, this is a red ale, a red ale that has the addition, they collaborated with Rodenbach Brewery in Belgium that added their traditional Flanders Old Red to it, their Grand Cru, so sour red, to this red ale, aged sour red, so traditional sour. And it was brewed with the addition of sumac berries, hence these little red berries on the cover here. Well, I guess it doesn't come out too clear. It does have the fodder, the aging barrel for the Rodenbach here, and candied orange peel. So I guess it's kind of, Belgian-ishy in presentation. This is 7.1 ABV, so a bit on the strong side. And without much further ado, since I'm trying to talk less in my videos, and I need to really upload. Yes, I apologize. I've been slow. I got like my queue growing like it was years ago, and I used to upload 30 videos in a day. Um, yeah, I'm going to try to get around to uploading more. I'm just lazy. What can I say? So yeah, let's just go and pour this out already. So, a somewhat cloudy opalescent. Let's try to hold it up to sunlight here. What's left of the sunlight? Opalescent, reddish amber color with a beige head. Kind of closed up, which is strange because I took this one out a while ago. You can see, but it's still a little bit closed up. So, kind of getting toffee notes, sort of fruity overtone note. Some spicy old world style hops. Spicy grassy, I say. Some small bread notes. Overall, a bit closed up right now. Might just be a little bit too cold. Like I said, I let this one out of the refrigerator for about 5 minutes, maybe 15 minutes would have been better. So I'm going to do the full hold here, which is what I do when I want beers to express themselves a little better. Letting my body heat do the work. Okay. Not really catching much of the candied orange peel here. Usually when orange peel is added, I can catch that right away. But I think it's, yeah. Okay, yeah. Still not orange peel. I think that fruitiness is kind of defining itself. I don't know what sumac berry tastes like. I'm assuming that's what the fruitiness here is. Maybe a little bit of the Flanders red as well. But yeah, just like a mixture of sort of unidentifiable fruity notes with you know, a kind of toffee and bread maltiness. And hops, kind of as a side note. Okay, onto the palate now, shall we? Interestingly, the sour aspect is showing up much more than my initial taste. I just, perceived on my initial taste. Probably just a different body chemistry right now for me today. So up front and in the mids, you definitely get this sort of mixture of maltiness and sourness, which is not something that I've ever really had before. Usually the sour aspect kind of dominates, you know, the malts, but the red ale malts are very clearly here. You taste them. Then you have a sort of tart sourness. It's definitely, the porter, or I'm just going to say barrel aged sour. None of that, sweet tart kind of, chalky mineral note I associate with kettle sours. They're both there. That sort of toffee, like slightly toasted bread of the red ale malts, as well as a sour. But they're both kind of distinct, and in the middle they kind of meet a little bit. But it's it's kind of you sense both. It doesn't feel like a blend, if you understand what I'm saying there. There's almost like a black cherry top note. And there's a hop bitterness that shows up in the mid to finish. Just enough to let you know that it's hopped. It doesn't really add much to the either the red ale malts or it's kind of like a thing in itself, sort of like a third beat, as it were. As it warms up, I'm actually getting that candied orange peel, but it's only really showing up in the finish. On the palate there, after the kind of maltiness clears a bit. That fruitiness is there on the palate, not as much as in the nose. If I could kind of say it, yeah, it's probably closest to cherry, though not really black cherry, but sort of like cherry. Goes down fairly easy for a 7.1, I can say that. Hmm. As it warms up, hop bitterness is showing a bit more in the finish. Kind of meshes now. It's kind of meshing nicely with the sourness of the Grand Cru. Oddly enough, the hopping seems to be playing better with the sour aspect than the malts. Some of that toffee notes in the nose showing up now in the front to finish. Boy, my camera is just acting up today. Come on, pull back, pull back. There we go. And now the hop bitterness is also starting to show up in the front. Interesting. Yeah, I would definitely have this one a bit on the warmer side. Boy, this is really going down fast. Well, for one, I'm kind of thirsty. End of the work day and whatnot. Whatnot. My sister makes fun of me saying whatnot. My grandmother said it all the time, and I guess I picked up that kind of verbal tick. How many of you people here still hear people say whatnot? It's one of my favorite words. So, what can you say about Crimson Crew? Some of the reviews on this were pretty mixed. And, with my first tasting, I was kind of agreeing with them. But now with the second tasting, I'm disagreeing because I think more complexity has emerged to me on this second tasting. It seems more balanced. Excuse me. And, I'm getting a lot more of the, Flanders red in this particular tasting than my previous one did. And I'm wondering, because I'm more careful about temperature, with these recorded reviews rather than, my preliminary review. So I kind of wonder if it was what I ate before, since I had dinner before I did my preliminary review, or if it's just, my body chemistry or the weather. When I first did my preliminary, it was kind of chilly night. Now it's kind of a warm afternoon, which is probably going to turn into a chilly night considering the cold front's rolling in. But you get what I'm saying. So I'm finding this kind of intersection pretty interesting. The orange peel doesn't really quite show up for me, maybe just a bit in the finish there. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Now, on Beer Advocate, this is classified as a Flanders Red. I would not classify it as a Flanders Red. While I am definitely tasting that aspect of the blend, I would say that the red ale, the traditional, I guess English or American, I would go more with the English since it's old world hops and a kind of less hoppy profile. A traditional English red ale with that is the forefront there. That's still really the backbone, even though that Flanders red is playing a major role in the flavor and nose here, especially with the top note. Now, excuse me, now it's completely warmed up. I'm definitely getting some of those toffee aspects from the malting in the top note, along with the same, kind of fruitiness which I am attributing to the sumac. So yeah, I would say that the red ale definitely takes precedence over the Flanders red, even though the Flanders red is very detectable. Is You know, it's still a strongly detectable flavor. Adjuncts kind of add a little bit more nuance there, as I said. Hopping kind of left in the dust. But overall, nicely complex. If not something I think that bears a lot of exploration, as it were. You know, it's good for a sixer or two. It's something you wouldn't turn down, but it's not something I think you're going to be constantly returning to experience over and over again. If you catch my drift. That said, another interesting beer from Dogfish Head. I always love drinking beers from them. Um, haven't really had a groaner from them yet, but then I'm not really look. I don't really have a huge choice of Dogfish Head beers. But they definitely do these interesting kind of way out there beers very well without going way out there in ways that kind of gross me out like most pastry stouts do. You notice I've never reviewed a pastry stout because I find them disgusting. Okay, I don't understand them, and not in the way that like dark IPAs do, where I can kind of understand what sort of appeal they have to people. I don't want to taste like a cheap gas station pastry in in overly proof beer. I'm sorry, I'm not going to ever review a pastry stout, and I'm probably not going to review any milkshake stouts again. Excuse me, milkshake IPAs again, unless they're from a local brewery, because I find those repulsive as well. It's a hot take, I know, but it is what it is. I don't want to end on a negative note because this is a beer that I think is interesting and worth trying. Try this, and that, folks, is your beer review for this Saturday afternoon. Cheers.